Hey, what's going on? I'm Pastor Dinorizzo here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I am here with Dan Uller King, who is going to be a part of this. I'm going to move it over just a touch so we can see Dan.
Yeah,
and then I got stuff sprouting out of my hair right here, so how you like that? That's our plant back there in the back. But I wanted to talk for a few minutes about some of the questions that have come through this round table of multiple sites. We've been a church for about 18 years. We've done multiple sites for probably 8 of these years. We started out with Video Campus and then moved into some other expressions here locally. And we've got one in El Paso. We've got a couple of international sites. So it's an honor to be able to talk and answer some of the questions from some of the great churches that are part of Leadership Network. And, you know, it's interesting. I watched all the videos, and I apologize I wasn't able to be a part of the day that we connected with all this. But after watching a lot of videos and hearing some of the requests and hearing some of your stories, it's amazing how so many of the answers are similar. That's what I love about Leadership Network and the communities that they do is you get to share ideas. And Dan, we've been a part of 4 or 5 of them, and so a lot of the answers, a lot of the questions reflect all of our journeys. Yeah. So that's one of the interesting things. So we'll dive into this as it relates. Dan's going to ask questions almost like an interview, so we can talk about this instead of just talking one church after another. And so we're going to start out with our Vineyard Church.
Yep.
Vineyard Church.
They said they moved from 3 to 5 campuses in the last year, and they're still functioning basically like one church. Senior leadership team is the same over the old original campus and the multi-site and everything. Basically, they're asking questions about staffing structures to keep the unity, keep good communication, good synergy, collaboration among the campuses, and then how to take what they were doing at 3 and scale it all up to doing it at 5 campuses.
I think key word is scale.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to have scalable ministry. I know in the beginning for our church, we didn't do that well. We were a little scattered. We were not scaling anything. We were scattered. But as we scaled it and we went to a central support team, and that's even morphed a lot then, it's kind of a central support team as it relates to our multiple campuses. Not just the whole church is not under a central support. That really only relates to campus, our online campus, and all the other 8 campuses that we have. It is a lot, Vineyard Church, that when you go from how many campuses?
From 3 to 5.
3 to 5. That's a big jump in 1 year. I mean, that's going to create tension, and it's going to create some shaking. So some of the things we did on Fast Growth is we had to communicate better. I, as the pastor, had to get more involved with that. And then we had to do some shifting of job descriptions because there were some people that had one job and they were trying to do 2 jobs as it related to campuses. With 3 campuses, maybe they could wear dual hats, but with 5 campuses, they could not. So it really became now there's a team. I think we have 3 people on staff, or really 2 people on staff that focus on campus. And then we've got some others that kind of fool with it and mess with it. So that's kind of my idea. That's my recommendation as it relates to scaling those things. And then the whole idea of being able to have a central support team. Because if you're not communicating, there's not going to be unity. You're not going to find synergy together. So the more you can communicate and the more that people understand the DNA of the house, which I'll talk a lot about, the better off you are. So I think that's an encouraging thing as it relates to the Vineyard Church.
Yeah. All right, Suncrest Christian Church asked about effectively maintaining one church while giving the campuses freedom to express themselves uniquely within their own context, like we have with the different areas that or demographics that our campuses are in. It'd be the same kind of thing there. And relating to staffing structure, again, that works best to allow for that. Does the campus pastor, does the staff report to a campus pastor or to a global leader? And this one really had a unique question in there. The thought about 2 bosses. It's not a good thing for people to have 2 bosses. Well, they're kind of breaking that mold a little bit, trying experimenting with that and seeing how it works best to set people up for answer, for reporting having a boss.
Yeah, well, it is hard to have 2 bosses. I was in a function like that one time where what I was doing, I had to report to 2 different people. But I think with the growth there, when you have part-time campus pastors, I think that was one of the things with Suncrest. And they're doing their deal. You're trying to figure out globally what does that look like, who decides what, who decides the songs, who decides who teaches, and things like that. I think that's a little bit of a vision question too. What is your vision as it relates to campuses? Is it more of autonomous, or is it? Are these exact expressions of what we're doing in our original location or original campus? For us, we decided early on that we were going to be the same, and that there is a centralized answer, there's a centralized team, and a lot of it goes back down to the vision of what we're doing, It goes down to the heart of as me as a lead pastor here. I'm setting the tone, setting the agenda, setting the atmosphere for what's going on at our other campuses. Now, we give some leeway as it relates to, we may be in a series and I'll pick a topic. If we're preaching on faith this week or love, then every campus is preaching on those things, but it's going to go through that campus's pastor's filter. So we do video and we do live preaching. We mostly do live preaching at our campuses because we enjoy raising up communicators and things like that. Then there's times that we use video. We had an all-video campus where we just had someone hosting that service. So we just want to make sure that we're all shooting at the same target. Same thing with the music. It may not be the exact songs, but it's the same flavor and the same flow. Even in some of our multi-ethnic campuses, we still want somewhat of the same flow, and we may spice it up a little bit, depends on where it's at. But I just encourage you at Suncrest that for us, it still has to be one church. It cannot be separate churches. It's got to be one church. And the people that get on board have to understand that it's one church. You know, I heard Brian Houston say this, that there can be a lot of big brothers in a family and sisters, but there's only one daddy. And I think in a church there only can be one daddy. And you've got to figure out what that looks like, and everybody's got to be comfortable with that as it relates to the leadership and as it relates to, you know, communication and growing in those things. Does that answer all the questions?
Yeah, I think you talked a while back about presencing the vision, you know, for the campus pastors, for us to, when we step into a room, that we're carrying forward the vision that you and Dylan have had for this church. We represent that. And I think what you said early on in that answer was just about vision being so key for everybody to buy in and understand what that vision is.
And you've got, I think a campus pastor has to realize that they're presencing the vision of the house, not their own vision.
Yeah.
A campus pastor is there representing Christ, and they're presencing me if I'm not there as it relates to live preaching. And I think, and it's very intentional as you grow. You got to spend more time together. So I have to spend time with our campus pastors. We meet twice a month, like business, ministry, you know, take care of stuff. But then we're together a lot, just going to lunch, hanging out, spending time together. We just kind of have that flow here. We still kind of, we eat a lot, you can tell. But what we do is we're very relational. So I know that as a senior lead pastor, I have to pursue relationships with those campus pastors. And then they also have to put themselves maybe in environments that I'm at or that we can be together in. So it just kind of helps the relationship.
All right, Manna Church.
Manna Church.
Basically two areas.
Manna.
One was data management.
Pastor Jeff, I think.
Yep.
Fletcher. Yeah. I think
managing the data, the flow of data among the campuses, the small groups, people, leaders, money, all of that, which kind of goes back to the central team idea. And then also talking about portable multi-site. We've done that a little bit, but trying to figure out how to do that on the cheap is the way they put it.
Again, I think it's a lot about essential support. You've got to have a place where you go and you discuss things. Now, what we do is we give every campus a budget, and they're responsible for handling that budget. Mm-hmm. They report back. They spend time with our financial team. They talk about those things. We have expectations. If there's things that pop up, then we want to talk about it. I mean, we're not adamant about every single dollar. If there's a person in their church who's all of a sudden, you know, it's a single mom and washer and dryer breaks, and they've got an idea to do something, or, you know, can we give an additional $400 to help with that? We want to know about those needs. But for operating, we pretty much have a budget for that. And then for us, we start off as cheap as you can. We don't like putting out a lot in the front as far as it relates to facilities. And, you know, a lot of people, I know that Manna Church was talking about the portable church, and is there ways to do it cheaper? I mean, there's so many people planting churches right now. I'm a part of a group called ARC, and we plant a church about every 15 days, I believe, in the ARC. And there's been guys that have used the portable church company. There's been guys that have done it themselves. There are some freelance guys out there that can get sound and technology and those things. And then you can just piecemeal it together. On our campuses, we always did it ourselves as it related to just getting that equipment together, getting our trailer, getting volunteers together, because it always helped us save money. And in the early days for us, we started campus, we want to make sure that we're not outlaying too much funds that takes forever to recoup, because we want to do other things. And we do a lot of that through ARC. So I think there are ways to do it cheaper. It takes a little bit more time. You got to be a little bit more patient. And then you got to get together and talk about these things.
Yeah.
I don't think you can run campus ministry through email. You got to sit face to face, talk about what's happening in those points of passion all throughout your community that represent your heart.
Yeah. I think something on that portable church idea of the value, not underestimating the value of the sweat equity in those. Some of the strongest relationship, our relationship goes back to stacking chairs.
Yeah, without
so there's that strength that comes from that.
You find out who's legit, who's in it for the real deal.
And it saves you money.
Yep.
So I mean, it goes together. All right, next question from our friends down in Mandeville at Church
Come on,
of the
Church
King.
of the King.
Man
That's
of God.
Steve Robeson.
Man of God.
Robeson.
Dave DeGarmo had the question.
Dave DeGarmo. DeGarmo and Key.
They started another campus they hadn't planned on. We've been there. It was a merger. They also, in 2011, this year, they plan on bringing their total number of campuses to 5.
Oh, yeah, online.
And another physical. Online. Come on, baby.
Online, representing.
Loving it. Church online. There you go. Then central support recommendations, the top 2 or 3 positions that you've got to have staffed and relate to central support. And based on the answer to that question, how do you identify the right people from your current staff? Not hiring outside, but bringing them from within.
That's where we're at. We're not hiring many people right now. We're shifting. We're moving. We're trying to see potential in other people on staff that maybe they have something in their heart. There's a dream that we can move them to an area. And we're pretty flexible with our staff here. We try some things sometimes. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. But, that's a lot of campuses. I know Church of the King, Pastor Steve is a brilliant pastor. Yeah. But it is a lot to go from, one campus, which I think they had several years ago, to now many campuses. And you cannot do it without that hub, that huddle of the central support. If you're not getting together, think about NFL teams. Not only do they meet as a team, but the offensive line gets together, the quarterbacks get together. They have their separate meetings, but then they get together and have team meetings. And I think that's the same thing that happens with us as it relates to multiple site. If you said, what are the key positions, I think you've got to have a voice from the senior pastor. Either the senior pastor or his guy who's representing doing campuses. You got to have finances. Yeah. For us, it's very important to have finances. I think you got to have somebody on there who represents the ministry DNA of the church. Small groups, volunteers. What is the picture we're trying to draw at every campus as it relates to people being equipped, people being empowered, people being helped, volunteers getting, full of the dream. So what are we trying to do here, and how are we accomplishing it as it relates to ministry? So I would have senior pastor voice. I would have finances. I would have ministry. I think those are most important. Secondly, if there's a creative person, as it relates to if you're doing video campuses, of course you're doing mail outs, but at the same time there may be some unique things about how that person communicates at that campus, because their women's deal that they're doing is not identical, date and time and place. Heart, yes, but not the logistics of it. So probably somebody creative in there that can kind of just say, hey, we're doing these announcements, and do they work? And then I think music could be on there, but it doesn't have to be. I think youth could be on there, it doesn't have to be. I think children could be on there, but it doesn't have to be. If you've got your pastoral ministry represented, then you're going to get that same heart across them. But the Church of the Kings, I mean, they're getting it. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, slamming. All right, Harvest Church. They currently have 4 campuses.
Wow.
There's a campus 6 hours away running with volunteer staff. They got a merger that's 15 minutes away, and another campus 2.5 hours away. It's a new one.
Wow.
Biggest challenge currently is defining the multi-site strategy in general. What's a campus? What's an add-on? Is it?
Do you ever get that totally defined? I'm not sure.
I don't think so. And just, do they add more organic? Should they add more holistic campuses as staffed?
I say yes to all.
Yeah.
Both and. Yeah. If you're dealing with me, our philosophy here is we have a vision to be a healing place for a hurting world. So how do we facilitate that? We never had a vision to be multi-site. We had a vision we felt like was from God to reach people for the cause of Christ. Multi-site is serving that vision. Yeah. Multi-site is not the vision. It's a part of it. So we have different elements of a multi-site church. There may be, we've got a few that were church buildings that we just came into and worked on. Matter of fact, our Dream Center location, a church was there, wanted a partner. We went in there and did the ministry, didn't do a campus, did the ministry for 2 years. And then we started doing services along with them. They would meet, then we would meet, pass each other in the hall. And then they eventually gave it to us. So that's kind of a different model. You mean you had energy and ministry at a church you didn't have a service at? Yeah, because we felt like the community needed it. So, I mean, I think it can be, as it relates to how do you define a campus? Well, you need to find out what is it that makes up a campus and when does it warrant starting a campus. Is it going to be a little bit, for us, it is a little organic. It is a little we kind of feel it. This thing's a little raw. It's a little simple. That's why we don't spend a ton of money starting off on a campus.
Right.
It's because we want it to be a natural flow. So, you're either going to say, hey, either your makeup is very boxy, organizational, here it is, here's what I do. You're just that kind of personality. Or, as it relates to us, we're a little bit more creative as it relates to campuses. And we probably make the island bigger than smaller in developing campuses.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about vision drives all of it.
Everything.
And if our vision is to reach these people, then what's the best way to reach them? That's what happened in Mozambique and Swaziland. Our two campuses in Africa.
That's right.
Two totally different looking campuses.
That's right.
It's what it took to reach those communities. Okay, last one. Bay Area Fellowship. Jason Curley, my man, my hero.
You know Jason?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've never met him. Twitter, Facebook,
all that
Bill
stuff. Cornelius.
Yeah, Bill.
Great church.
Pastor Bill came.
These guys are rocking it. That's right.
Awesome.
Those guys are great guys.
I wish I had hair to be able to do my hair like Bill Cornelius is, but I don't have any hair. All right. How to continue to finance campus growth at the current pace of 1 and often 2 campuses a year.
That's a lot.
That's ridiculous. It's good. How to continue to add campuses in terms of developing worship leadership. So really the financial and the worship side are growing like crazy.
Yeah, well, and most everybody knows this, and I know Bill and these guys do this well. Campuses, you got to have good music, you got to have good kids, you got to have decent parking, you got to get in the building. The campuses that we've seen with ARC, we planted now about 190 churches. A few of those haven't made it. But we've had a great success rate. I think like 3% haven't made it in these last 10 years. 3% of the ones we planted, something like that, 3 to 4%. And a lot of them deal with bad music, though not good children, bad facility, bad place, can't get in and out, don't know where it's at, or sometimes it's just wrong launch. Of course, you got the leader. Sometimes you have the relationship with the husband and the wife, the lead couple. But you got to have good music. And for us, we begin looking for that very young, like Bay Fellowship does. I mean, we start worship leaders very young. So we're going to give some young people a chance that maybe in another setting could not get a chance. So we've never had that big of a problem at our campuses with worship. Sometimes it's hard to get a band and recruit a band, and somebody over this campus doesn't want to drive over there. So we have forever had band challenges, but not worship leader challenges, because we want our worship ministry to be a farm system for worship leaders and giving them a chance. Now, as it relates to how do you keep your finances up with growing campuses, is a great question. We've taken some chances, and we're okay with certain campuses not being able to provide for themselves in that first year. A lot of that's based on the demographics of where that campus is. So if they can't provide and they can't, it's a missions outreach, it's an idea like that, we're okay with that. But, like anything, I mean, every single day you do leadership, you do resources. I mean, you raising leaders, raising money, raising leaders, raising money. That's what you do every day as a pastor. There's not a day that goes by you're not raising up leaders for ministry or for Multisite or raising dollars. So it's just a part of the deal. What's the answer to how do you continue to finance campus growth at the current pace, 1 to 2 campuses a year? Well, faith, believe God, raise up leaders, raise up money. It's the only way you can do it. Yeah. So, and I think there was one more. Stacy.
Dr. Spencer.
Yeah, Dr. Spencer. I'm sorry, Dr. Spencer. And even though I don't know if it's on this video or not, but I'd still like to address, he has some great questions about, how do you keep your brand when you expand? How do we work out as we move forward? How do you lead with your time, your relationships, and how do you keep the culture, which is so important? Because as you grow, you can lose your brand, and you can start becoming something that you didn't want to become. And I think that's a lot with vision. It's a lot with communication. You got to get everybody on the same page and let them know why we're doing this. And, you know, I think that by and large, you're hearing amazing things with campuses. There are a few train wrecks where someone thinks, hey, this is my deal. This is my time to shine. This is my little flow. And you can't have that. You can't have anybody building their own kingdom. You know, I think you got to be careful anytime you put somebody at a campus that has a messianic complex where they just feel like, man, I'm the Messiah. I'm finally out from underneath my pastor. I can come over here and save everybody, heal everybody. So I think you got to be careful on your staff putting people in a position where they're going to be bent to be a loner or to do their own thing. So as a lead pastor, you got to watch that. And I think you cannot negotiate your brand. This is who we are. This is our culture. That's why for us, what we've learned is you raise up sons and daughters. Yeah. I would not entrust a campus to somebody I barely knew, 3 years, 5 years. It'd have to be a son and a daughter of the house for them to be able to go over there and represent what we're doing as a church and presence to Lynn and I at that campus as it relates to ministry and our heartbeat. So I think we've always, I mean, I've known Dan now 23, 24 years. Yeah. He's our online pastor. I totally trust him. We've been together through a lot of things. And it's like that at a lot of our campuses. It's people that we've walked through, or they've been in our church for a while. Yeah. So they know what we're about. Yeah. And, you know, I had a pastor tell me this, and I'll finish with this. It's a great thought. He said that as a pastor and leader and staff, you work with three kinds of people. You work with one person that you'll know for sure. You know them. You know how they are. You know them in and out. You work with another person you'll never get to know. They're a mystery. But then you work with a third type of person. That's the person you think you know, and then they'll surprise you. With the ones that surprise you are the ones you got to try to identify. They're hard to identify because they surprise you. So I think in ministry, you got to work with people, especially at a campus, who know you and you know them, and there's a relational covenant there as it relates to what we're building. So that's our thought. Thanks a lot to LeadNet and all the guys there, Greg, Todd, Dave, on and on, so many, Linda. Just a great group of people. Awesome. Hopefully this has helped you. God bless you.